I'm sorry, sir. This is Judith speaking. Do you need to help?
Sorry. Do you do you see my screen? No. Do you hear me?
Yes, but it's not very clear.
Oh my God. I think we're having problems with connection. But do you see my screen? Do you see the PowerPoint I am showing now?
Yes, yes. I
Yes.
can see it.
All right. Okay. So I think we're having a problem with in terms of the connection, but what really matter right now is you are seeing my screen and at the same time you hear me clearly, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So let's start now. So today I am tasked to discuss about concepts of leadership. We will try to dig deeper of what is leadership as we go along the way. So before I will give you a the entire concept, can you interact with me, please? Because I normally ask questions. Now, in terms of leadership, what do you understand when you say leadership? What do you understand when I say leadership then? And can you give me an example? Students, do you hear me? Hello?
Student, please answer Dr. Ramil's question.
All right. So the reason I ask because when we say leadership, there's a lot
Question,
of
sir.
leadership. All right. So basically, to put things into the right perspective, since you are, I guess you are into the business organization courses. All right. So I will start first by giving you a description what an organization is all about. Because if we are going to discuss about leadership, leadership is quite broad. Okay, you can see different people who become leaders in the politics in any non-government organizations, anything that for as long as there's the person who is going to set the direction. But in your case, I would like to set the perspective in which you are working in the organization. But I think you have encountered this word already, but let me try to remind you or share you some thoughts before we have to discuss about the leadership. Okay, so when you say organization, it's a basic example here is you are working with your own family. Okay, when you say family, you have your mother, your brother, your sister at the same time. So there are a group of people working together. All right. So the word means it is also connote that there is a collection of resources are working together and somehow to achieve a common purpose. Uh, Please let me know if you don't hear or I talk too fast, all right?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
All right, just let me know if I talk too fast, all right? Okay, now, when you say organization, it is actually composed of number of people, okay? And these people, they are trying to contribute their exerted efforts, are going to share their talents and skills. Now, to simply explain, the word means it is a collection of resources that are working together. So in an organization, there are resources. Now, when you say resources, can anybody tell me what are those different types of resources inside the organization? So the first resources, which we call this the four M's. Four M's. The first one is manpower. The second is um, methodology, machinery, at the same time, money. All right. So in the organization, there are a number of people, there are different types of resources, put them together, and they are going to work for a common objective. So as you can see, if we're talking about an organization, towards the end, there should be a reason why they organize themselves. Okay, so when we talk about organization, we are usually referring to group of people. Okay, so you just have to imagine if you'll be working later on, you can see your colleagues, you can see your supervisors, you can see your president, your assistant manager, so on and so forth. So basically, that is an organization. There are resources, put them together, such as the money, manpower, or the labor, the methodologies, and at the same time, the machineries, okay, or the equipments. So, in organizations of people come in many forms. So, in business, there are different types of organization. Let's say there is a sole proprietor, there is a corporations, or any forms of organizations. It depends upon their purpose. So, an overall organization can have a variety of small organizations within it. For example, various departments and teams of people. So, based on my own example, think of a company. Okay, a company. There are resources, and there are resources. There are money. There are people. Whatever it would that be, they put them together, and they are also divided into some subgroups, which we call a small departments or a department, which has a different types of function. For example, an organization, they have the sales and marketing department, they have their finance department, they have their human resources, so on and so forth. And this each of the department, they are divided into several groups for a common purpose or objective as well. Let's say for a marketing department, their purpose there is to entice clients, okay, to bring in money into the organization. While the operations department, their purpose there is to produce products and goods, and at the same time, they will be able to deliver this product to end users, which are the customers. Okay, so along the way, towards our as we progress with our discussions for the next weeks, think always of an organization to set on a right perspective, right? Okay, so to further, if it is an organization, we will just have to limit ourselves in the business organization. Okay, so why I chose business organization, because basically later on you will be part of this group. Okay, you will be working later on, and you will be part of the team. Okay, so business organization describes how business are structured, how their structure helps them meet their goals. So in general, business are designed to focus either generating profit or improving the society. So as what I have mentioned a while ago, the purpose of the organization is to meet their own objective. But for business organization, basically this is a profit organization. So when I say profit organization, they produce products and offer services for the common consumers in order to earn profit. So inside the organization or out, they are going to link to outside, which are the customers, for example, to the suppliers, in order to meet their common objectives. In short, there are exchanges of values. For example, customer buys product. So whenever they buy a product, they have to pay and something in return and a certain amount of money. Okay. So when an organization focuses on improving social good, for example, an organization which promotes arts, education. So the school, your university is an example of an organization. Your hospitals, especially today during the pandemic, our frontliners, being part of the organizations, they are there to work, sharing their talents and skills. All right. So for the nonprofit organization, these are organizations being formed just to just to serve people. There's no profitable of values there. Okay. All right. Okay. So where am I? Okay. So I would like to share this with you, an organizational chart. So if you have taken already your principles of management, I'm sure your teacher shows this type of picture, which is a sample or a structure, or this how it represents when you think of an organization. So, when you say organization, remember, an organization is a group of people working together and put the different types of resources, such as man or the labor, money, the methodologies, and the machineries or the equipment, and putting them together. These are people who work for the organization. But as you can see, where is the leader there? Can anybody tell me where is the leader in this picture? Are leaders here? Are the leaders? Where is the leader? Students.
The top one, sir.
Yes, the top one. So this one here, you just have to imagine like this is a corporation or a business organization. So basically, this one here is the leader. Okay? If you try to look at this, he is on top. So when you say he is on top, his responsibility is to lead these people down the line. Okay? So leadership is quite related to your principles of management, but the only difference here in this leadership is we have to focus more of the people who leads the direction, because an organization without the direction given by the leader on top, it will never be moved and it will never become productive. Okay? So, as you can see, this is the top leader, number one in the organization, and below, under him, there's another one here, two, three. Maybe these are the assistant managers. These are the supervisors or the team leaders, and these are the people who works under them. But I will not try to dig deeper in terms of their power because that is already related to management. But what I'm trying to emphasize here, the organization normally moves because there is somebody who will lead them, somebody who will tell them on what is the right thing to do. Okay? And somebody who will think for them on which direction that they have to follow. For example, in the organization, for a profit or business organization, they tend to produce products and offer services. What is their main objective? Is to earn a profit. Okay, but let's say, for example, an organization produce a certain product, a certain department should promote in terms of the marketing. Okay, for example, in terms of the operations, they're responsible of coming up with the product, for example, and the other department, which is finance and accounting, they are responsible of taking good care of the assets of the company as well. Okay. Now, just let me know, if you don't understand, please do not hesitate to ask questions, especially today. But where it is a really a great challenge, you know. But nevertheless, this is also a great opportunity for us to learn on the different side of the technology. But I'm really sorry, I'm not really a techie person. I'm trying to adapt. Okay, so what we're using actually here in Prince of Songkla University, we are using Microsoft Team, but nevertheless, we are also using somehow Zoom. Okay, so going back to the organization, can you identify these people? Who can identify this? They are very popular. Students, who is this guy? Do you know this guy here?
The Apple owner, sir.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. This is Steve Jobs. Okay. He is the person behind the Apple. Okay. The very popular Apple. All right. So he is a lead. Would you agree with me that Steve Jobs is a leader? Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
All right. So why you agree? Why you agree with me that Steve Jobs is a leader? Remember the organization that I showed? An organization could be an Apple company. All right. So Steve Jobs on top. Okay. So he is the one who thinks for the organization with the help of the people under him. So do you think Apple will become successful without the groups? Do you think Apple can be successful with Steve Jobs alone as a person? Do you hear me? Question. Do you think Steve Jobs will be successful in running Apple without the people under him?
No, sir.
All right. Do you think the organization will function without Steve Jobs as the head of the entire organization? Yes or no? Okay,
No, sir.
exactly. So basically, there should be someone who's going to lead and to control and to see everything in the organization, particularly Apple. And that is what leadership is all about. Okay. Another one here is, who is this guy? This is really very popular also. Who is this guy here?
Mark Zuckerberg, sir.
Exactly. He's Mark. All of us here are into Facebook, right? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, yes. So, in other words, we enjoy Facebook a lot. We post our pictures there, blah, blah, so on and so forth. And basically, it became very successful and it is already part of our lives. Okay. So, Facebook is being used, all of us here, because it is being used for communication to link all of us. And the other one here is Jack Ma. Jack Ma is actually a very successful also entrepreneur in China. He's the one who established the Alibaba group of companies. So look at them. These are the leaders in the society. Okay, so as we try to go along with our discussion, we will try to identify or see what is really the importance or what is the significance or a contribution of a leader, particularly in the business organization. Again, I am saying that I am not only limiting leadership to business organization, but there are lots of leaders outside of business. For example, your president, our president, the president of the United States, or anybody else who leads people, they are considered a leader. Okay? So, are there any questions as so far? No? Am I going to proceed? No questions? Is it clear? Yes? Very clear. Do not hesitate. All right, so please do not hesitate to ask questions if it is necessary. I am
Not
here to
yet,
answer your
sir.
questions. All right. But I really love to hear questions either, right? So please talk to me and ask questions. All right. So here we go now. So basically, leadership is the one of the most important function of management. Take note, leadership is the one of the most important function of management. The functions of management basically, it involves directing or controlling or motivating employees in order to perform. So when I say perform, I put there a red mark. When I say perform, what does it mean? When I say perform. So the leader on top, remember the picture that I showed you a while ago, the organizational structure. So when I say organizational structure, these are people composed of the different, handling different responsibilities. Okay. Now, looking at this one, leadership is the most important function of management. So when I say perform, what does it mean when I say, hey, you perform? What do you mean by that? How you see a person or an employee performs inside the organization. So in short, later on, when you will be working, will you will you be part of the group organization doing nothing? You become an employee and the company shall pay you without nothing, with nothing to do? For example, if you work in the organization, what will you do? When you become an employee, what will you do? After you graduate, basically you look for a job, right? Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So, all right. So, when you work for a job, meaning to say, take note, when you work, the word there is work. So, when you say perform, your supervisor will monitor your performance. In what way? They are going to look at your entire output. When I say output, what are those things that you've done in the entire day as your contribution to the organization? For example, if you'll be working later in a organization, an office worker, your function is to keep records. All right. So when you keep records, so you have to keep all of those files, for example, or if you are in a cashier, or if you are working in a hotel, or any other functions that you are happy with and you will be paid later on. So that is the function of a person, which will direct you. When I say direct, mean you say this is the people who will give instructions and will influence and will motivate you to do your job. Okay? So, when you are going to do your job, meaning to say there's something in there, it could either be positive or negative, you will be promoted or given an extra, or maybe an increase in salary. Now, let's go now to our main topic. As of the moment, do you have any questions? I think none so far. So, concepts of leadership. According to Warren Bennis, he says, I used to think that running an organization was equivalent to conducting a symphony orchestra. Do you know what is a symphony orchestra means? Do you know what is a symphony orchestra?
Yes,
No, sir.
sir.
All right. Now, can you describe to me what a symphony orchestra is? Anyone who is courageous enough? Don't be shy. Anyway, you are not. We are not there. I mean, I'm not there. Don't be scared. So we are just talking, here. So don't be afraid. There is no right or wrong. What I would like to hear from you is a validation that you are there listening to me. All right? Don't be afraid. Okay? So anybody tell me, can describe what a symphony orchestra is all about? Have you seen a symphony orchestra?
A classic music show, sir,
Music
maybe.
or very good. So symphony orchestra meaning to say, so these are a group of people playing different music instruments, and they are working harmoniously, playing together, and to make sure that the sounds that they may produce are well coordinated, not too soft, not too loud, but it's something that's soothing to our ear. Okay. All right. So, but I don't think that's quiet. It is more like jazz. So, an orchestra, in other words, according to Warren Bennis, in order to produce a good music, everything should be in compass. Everything should always be in balance. So, whose responsibility is conducting the production of the good music? Basically, it's all the musicians. And of course, it's under one person's conductor. You see, if you see an orchestra, there is one there, a person standing in front, and there is a stick there. Do you get me? There is a stick in order to make a compass on how soft, how loud. This is also an example of running an organization, okay, to make sure that everything should be well coordinated, not too soft, not too fast, just like everything in control. Okay, the one standing in front handling a stick is more or less a person who gives a direction to all musicians. All right, so okay, so good leaders are made, not born. Do you get me? Do you understand this one? Good leaders are made, not born. What do you understand by this statement? Question. Let me ask you. Are you a leader or not?
Yes, sir, for myself.
Very good. I love to hear that. So, meaning to say, good leaders. When you say good leaders are made, not born. So, no one in this world that born to become a leader. You always have a choice. But to be a good leader actually is always a choice. All right? So, nevertheless, all of us here are leader anyway. In small ways, you are a leader. Because remember, last time I showed you that a composition of the organization, for example, in your family, okay, you have your brothers and sisters, younger brother, younger sisters, and then you are actually guiding your younger sisters and brothers, and basically that is the function of a leader. Okay, so if you'll try to look at the bigger picture, holding positions, working later on, as you develop yourselves and you acquire the skills later on when you work with a good performance, you will be given a break by being given a certain promotion. You'll become a supervisor, assistant manager, a manager, so on and so forth. All right. So if you have the desire, take note of this, ask yourself now, if you have the desire and willpower, you can become an effective leader, right? Take note of this. There is a word effective. All right. So if you are a good leader in the organization, meaning to say you did well in terms of influencing, controlling, leading, directing your people who works under you. Okay. So how leaders develop? It is being developed through a never-ending process. When I say never-ending process, just like for example, education. Nobody has the monopoly of knowledge. All of us are still learning, even myself. All right. Even the president of a certain country keeps on learning. Why? Because the world keeps on changing every minute of the day. Okay. So good leaders develop through never ending process by self study, education, training, and experience. Since from the very start you have a desire, you have the willpower to become an effective leader, so don't stop taking the process. Study more, proceed with the education, expose yourself into the different training, and of course, experience will always be there. Do not be afraid. Okay, experience is the best teacher, I'm telling you. And that is the reason why sometimes we don't normally learn because we are afraid. You're afraid to try. You are afraid to share your thoughts. You are afraid to talk to anyone else because you don't have confidence about what you are saying. Okay? So, desire. A leader is always a choice. A leader actually is not being born. And then later on, when you come out from the womb of your mother and say, hey, I am a leader, of course not. Okay. So a leader is always a choice. If you have the desire within yourself, but basically by nature, I think all of us want to become a leader because what's the reason why you are educating yourself? Because when you work later on, you have to build your career. Am I correct? You would like to look for a job and you will be promoted later on. All right. So that is the reason why you are getting the education. So little by little, you will be a leader and you have your own follower as well. Okay. So a leader is to inspire your workers into higher levels of teamwork. There are certain things that you must be, know, and do. Okay. But because the leader actually he has an experience, he has the knowledge, he has the willpower, basically he can say something to his co-members. These do not often come naturally but acquired through continual work of study. Okay. To become a leader, to influence others, it takes time. Because remember, in the organization is composed of different types of personalities. Remember, we are created in our own way. We are born with different character traits, different personalities, different likes and dislikes. But however, as a leader, how will you be able to influence these different types of personality? All right, so different types of people. So take note that the organization is quite complex. When I say complex, because there is diversity there in terms of personality. All right, but the leader, the challenge there is to put them together. Remember, the leader cannot work on his own. A person doesn't have a followers cannot be called a leader. Okay? So good leaders are continually working and studying to improve their leadership skills. They are not resting on their past laurels. So meaning, since you have the desire, you have the willpower, a leader doesn't stop of where you are. You have to aspire more. It's endless. All right? Until your last breath, you will always be a leader. Okay? All right. So next. So leadership is a process by which a person influences others to accomplish an objective and directs the organization in a way that makes it more cohesive and coherent. So again, think of the organizational structure that I showed you a while ago and think of those leaders like, for example, Steve Jobs, Jack Ma, and Mark Zuckerberg. In their respective organizations, they have undergone several processes in order to influence others. Okay, particularly they directly influence their followers and the people, those people who works under him or them. Okay, so in a way that makes it more cohesive and coherent. So they work in one direction, they understand each other. All right. Okay. So since it is a process whereby an individual influence a group of individuals to a common goal. So again, like for example, an organization is formed in order to set an objective. So for an organization which is a profit organization, again, their objective is to earn a profit. That's basically producing products and services and earn more money and expand more business. For example, you have to put another branch there, and that is basically the work of the entire team. Okay, so leadership is inspiring others to pursue their vision. What do I mean by vision here? Can anybody tell me what is vision? Inspiring others to pursue your vision. In your case now, what is your vision? Now, I'm asking you, as a student now, how do you visualize yourself? When I say vision, what does it mean? Students, do you still hear me? Are you still there?
Uh, the long-term goals, maybe, sir.
Okay. The
Yes.
goals, or when I say Vision, if you are trying to relate this to our body, which part which part of our body that we can see vision? Which part of our body is our vision? Meaning, what are our different types of senses? Can you still recall? You have your sense of touch, you have your sense of smell, you have your sense of sight, you have your sense of taste, you have your sense of hearing. So vision is a sense of, where do you see vision in our part of our body? Vision is, oh,
Mine
don't
is
get
body.
confused. Hey. Vision is seeing. So vision is, how do you see yourself? When I say how do you see yourself, the question is in your eyes, sight. Okay? Now, for example, we were talking about your goals. So by the way, what are the goals? What is your personal goal, by the way? Anybody would like to share their goals? Don't be shy. Why you are in Yogyakarta University? Why you study at this point in time? What is your vision? How do you see yourself years from now? Anybody?
I want to be a success entrepreneur one day. Maybe, sir. I hope.
Very good. So in other words, you are seeing yourself to become a successful entrepreneur. And basically, being a leader, you have to do something about it. You have to prepare yourself. And that's the reason why you pursue education. And later on, you will be exposed in the different scenarios and mold yourself to become an entrepreneur. You see? So you are seeing yourself as a leader, meaning you are a visionary. Okay? So it is okay. Plus, to all of you who are listening to me, it is really very important that you should know the direction of which way that you're going to follow and which way that you're going to go. Okay? Because if you clearly know what your goals and ambitions would be, it's very clear to actualize them. That's the reason why I ask, what is your vision? Okay? And the young lady out there, and she says, I want to become a successful entrepreneur. Is it possible or impossible?
Possible.
It is really possible. Okay? So anybody, because the world there is so wide, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but it depends upon how we visualize and how we prepare ourselves to go out there. Okay? So that's really very important. So within the parameters you set, to the extent that it becomes shared effort, shared vision, shared success. So later on, when you will become a successful entrepreneur, you are going to share also it with others. Because since you are a visionary, you see good things, you would like to share it with others as well. Okay? In terms of your experience, in terms of how you able to achieve the things that you would like to, the things that you wanted in life. Okay? All right. So, leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of goal. So, when I say it is a process of social influence, what do we mean by this? It is a process of social influence. When I say social influence, what does it mean? When I say social, who are we referring to? When I say social, who are we referring when we say social? When I say social, we are referring to, who are these people? We are referring to the society or the people, basically. Okay? Social influence. When I say influence, what does it mean? Take note, leadership is a process of social influence. Therefore, you relate to people that surround you, and as much as possible, you have to convince them. How? You have to share your vision. You share your thoughts. Because, as what I am saying a while ago, you can never be called a leader without your followers or supporters. Am I correct? Can you become a leader without a follower? Yes or no? Can you be called a leader even without a follower?
No.
Yes. So basically, it is a lot of effort for you to convince people. You have to make them believe your vision. Okay? So just like in the organization, you have your supervisor will tell you, do this, do that, blah blah, so on and so forth. And then the higher ups, the manager or the director or the president, whoever would that be, just like they have to give just one statement and everybody follows. Why they follow? Because they're part of the organization. They are committed to obey the rules and regulations. All right? Okay. Next. So I would like to share this also with you. According to Peter Drucker, do you know who is Peter Drucker in your marketing? According to him, leadership is shifting of own vision to higher sights, the raising of man's performance to higher standards, the building of man's personality and beyond its normal limitations. Okay? Can anybody share their thoughts about what Peter Drucker is saying? By the way, Peter Drucker is a very popular person who wrote marketing books. He is widely popular marketing author of the book. Okay? And he says, shifting of own vision. Shifting of own vision to higher sights. For example, you are a long time ago, okay, during your younger years, before you enter college, you finish your high school, for example, you are aiming high. Okay? So after your high school, you enrolled in college. So after college, what do you expect? What are your expectations after college, by the way, if I may ask? Vision to a higher sights, the raising of man's performance to higher standards. What do I mean when I say higher standards? What do I mean by that? Raising of man's. In other words, just like for example, you are walking along a staircase and going up. You know, as you go up step by step, it comes higher and higher and higher. Okay, until you reach on top. Okay, for example, if you after you finish college, you bring your credentials to an organization and you would like to apply for a job, and then you do this particular job for a couple of years, and then later on you'll be promoted to supervisor and the assistant manager, until such time that uh, you work so hard and the management will give you a bigger responsibility. That is Peter Drucker is saying. So a person who has a vision of higher sights, raising man's performance. So a leader actually is not always contented of what he is, of whatever things that he accomplished in life. Okay, no matter how it takes, whether it's difficult, a leader should always proceed, all right, in order to achieve his goals. So note that all definitions have couple of processes in common. So take note of this. When we try to summarize a word, leadership or leaders, leaders should influence others through social, not power, to get something accomplished. All right? So a leader requires others. So as what I am saying, a person cannot be a leader without a follower. You cannot be called as a supervisor without people who are under you. Okay? So who are not necessarily direct reports, but they are there, part of the organization. And whenever you say something, people will listen to you. All right? So, would you like to ask questions? No? Is it clear? All right. So, there is a need to accomplish the things that you've done. So, in other words, you should be an output, because if you are just a leader there by word without nothing to present as your output, it will become useless. Okay. So, leaders carry out these processes by applying their leadership knowledge and skills. Okay, take note of this: knowledge and skills, and this is called a process leadership. Okay, and the other one is a type of leader. Here is a trait leadership. In it was common to believe that leaders were born rather than made. So that's what I'm saying all about. Because if you choose to become a leader, you have the desire, you have the willpower, and that is one of the character traits of being a leader. Now, try to look at this one. I will have to share this with you in advance, though we have a topic for the theory of leadership as well. But at this early, I'd like you to look at this framework. So, according to this theory, at the theory, there is a leader. Take note of this. A leader, there is a height of intelligence, of extroversion, or fluency of others, and these are basically the followers. All right. So, if you try to look at this type of leadership in management, this is what we call um, a what we call this, autocratic leader. In this case, this is a combination between autocratic and democratic leader, in which case this is a process. A leader normally asks opinions from his followers, and at the same time, uh, they are going to be open about it before they're going to implement of something. Okay, so leadership resides in people. Leadership can be observed. Okay, so take note of this here: the trait and the process theory. The process is they are interacting with each other. There are two arrows. The first one is going down, meaning to say a leader is trying to give command, and the other one, the arrow, it goes up. So there is an interaction there. So maybe we can relate this, that maybe the leader here is trying to ask opinions from his followers, and here is the leader is just one way. So the leader would say, this is an autocratic type, or do this, do that. Just follow what I say, just follow what I say. Okay. And in this case, this type of leader, like for example, what do you think? Can you give me any suggestions? Okay, what is which is better, this one or that one? Okay. So this one here, there are different types of options, but I am not saying whether what kind of leader you are. It all depends upon your style, for as long as you can convince people, because after all, leadership resides in people. You can never be called a leader without your followers, and these are the people who works under you. Okay? Now, while leadership is learned skills, it can also be learned, because from the very start, we said that a leader, they are not born, actually, they are made. When I say made, meaning to say you learn so many things, including your own beliefs, your own values, your own ethics and character. Okay? So, in every leader, they have their own perceptions, they have their own acquired value or even ethics. So, knowledge and skills contribute directly to the process of leadership. So, meaning to say, when you will become a leader later on, there's a lot of things that you have to learn. It could either be within yourself or outside. Since it is a process, it is a continuous, flow of things for you to become a leader. And everything can be learned since it is not born. Okay. Now, for example, a leader might have learned the skills in counseling others, but her traits will often play a great role in determining how she counsels. A person who has empathy will make a better counselor than a person who thinks the employees are simply there to accomplish their behavior biddings. Okay, so these are examples. Like a person is very good in counseling, giving advices, for example, but Her traits will often okay. So just like if I am type of leader and whatever I say, but it does not match of the actions that I'm giving you, and it will somehow create conflict because your followers might might get confused. Okay, but later on you would know because there are types of leaders that they are so tricky. Okay, because leaders after all, they tend to strategize things. Believe me, there are some leaders that they are not so vocal about what they are saying, but you can always see of their own actions. Okay, all right. So a leader in business, they're also being called as a strategists. You know what strategy is all about. So skills, knowledge, and attributes make leader. Which one is the factors of leadership? So skills, knowledge, and attributes. So let's have this another framework. Factors of leadership. There is a situation, this is the follower, and this is a leader. So there is a communication. So when I say communication, what are the different types of communication, by the way? Are you still awake? Hello? Are you still listening to me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good. What is communication, by the way? I'd love to hear your voice once in a while. Can anybody describe to me the picture? There is no right or wrong. Come on, I just would like to hear your voice. Anybody? Can anyone interpret the pictures on screen?
Me, sir.
Yeah, go. Can I have your name?
I think communication is the process of conveying a message or information
Good.
the leader to follower and
Mhm.
the feedback
Okay,
like
good.
that.
So, right. Basically, you are correct. Like a communication, there's a sender and there is a receiver. And in between, there should always be a feedback. But this communication will vary depending on the situation. Okay? So try to imagine this one. Again, you are very correct. You are right. A communication, there is a sender and there is a receiver. In between, there is always a feedback. And this feedback here, it's very important. Just like, for example, our basic example is today, I am talking to you. Sometimes I pause and stop for a while because I still have to check whether you are still there or not. But in some other cases, I just would like to hear your voice to validate that we are still connected with each other. But in leadership, by the way, it depends on every situation. For example, working in the office, working in the organization, there are different types of situation. Okay? So the level of communications there, meaning to say it varies as well. But take note of this, it is always the the way if you're talking about the situation, what if they are trying to argue with each other? It's good here because the leader is smiling, so we can say that, oh, they're having a very good conversation and the situation is okay. Now, what if, for example, if this woman, as a leader, his or her face is mad, so that situation there is different, and it also different how the follower reacts to the leader. Okay, so a communication between the follower and a leader differs in every situation. Okay. All right. So a leader, you must have an honest understanding of who you are. Take note of this. Since along the process you will become a leader, it is very important that you should know yourself very well. Take note of this one because remember, the function of a leader is to influence people. Now, how you will be able to let others believe of what you are saying if you are not an honest person? You are not sincere to them. Okay? How you'll be able to understand their feelings if you yourself are not sincere about yourself. Okay, so just like for example, you cannot give everything, you cannot give something in which you don't have. So a leader must be honest, and he understands of who you are, what you know, and what you can do. Okay, now tell me, do you think is there such thing as a person is perfect and knows everything? Do you think a leader knows everything? Yes or no?
No, sir.
All right. Why no? Okay, go ahead. Why no? Remember, do you think Steve Jobs knows everything? Or Jack Ma or Mark Zuckerberg? Do you think they know everything in this world? No, they don't. And that's the reason why a leader is should be abreast to the the updated information about what's going on outside. All right. So in a leadership, before you convince people, before you make other believe of what you are saying, you have to be honest. You see that? So in other words, you have before you engage with others, engage yourself first. All right? So in that case, followers, not leader or someone else who determines if the leader is successful. All right? So in a true leadership, as they say, it is the follower who will tell you whether you are successful or not yourself. For example, in a bigger picture, if we are going into a politics, a certain president in a certain country, it is the followers, it is the people that will determine whether you are successful or not. Okay? So, if they do not trust or lack confidence in their leader, they will be uninspired. Take note, if you will become a supervisor or a leader in the department, if your people will not trust you, I'm telling you, they will not work, they will not be motivated, and they will not coordinate with you. Okay? So you see how leadership is very, very critical because you are dealing with people. Remember, it's quite complex because you are dealing with the different personalities. So, to be successful, you have to convince your followers, not yourself or your superiors, that you are worthy of being followed. Okay? Take note of this. What do we mean by this? A leader should not tell himself or herself that he is very successful. Oh, I am very successful. But it should be your followers who will determine whether you are successful or not. Because from the very start, we agreed that a leader, the person cannot be called a leader without the followers. So if you have number of followers, meaning to say there are numbers of people who are believing in your capacity and your capability. Okay? So let's try to look at the followers perspective. Okay. Leader, followers. So different people requires different styles. So this is what I have mentioned a while ago. If you are dealing with people or in the society or even in the organization, it is complex. Why? Because we came from different environment and not all of us are the same. We each of us we are having in our own unique way. Okay? So, we have to understand a leader should understand his follower because people comes in different personalities and traits. Okay, for example, a new hire requires more supervision than an experienced employee does. So what do we mean by this? For example, if I am a supervisor and I would say, oh, I would like to hire a experience than a fresh graduate. Why? Because an experienced person knows a bit than a newly graduate. And a newly graduate needs a close supervision. Okay? All right. So it is very important for a leader to get to know about his or her followers. So a person who lacks motivation requires different approach. A follower needs to be motivated as well. Take note of this. Okay? So a follower needs to be motivated because if the follower will not work under you, question, if your followers are not working, does it affect you as a leader? If your followers are not performing well, does it affect you as as a leader? Yes or no? Do you get my question? People, hello?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
clear? All right. So, if a follower is not performing, do you think does it affect to the leader or not?
Yes, of course.
Yes. In what way? In what way? That if you are for example, you are a leader. I am your follower, and you tell me what to do. But somehow I don't understand. Somehow I don't feel well. And then I am not performing. Then you, as a leader, my immediate superior, how does it affect you?
Shouldn't be not,
Mm-hmm.
sir,
For example, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. If
because
I, okay.
yes, because the leader should be uh, in the not I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, no, no. It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Relax. Organize your thoughts. Okay. Pause for a while and think. Okay. Go.
Because I think the leader must be affecting the followers like that, sir.
Mhm.
So anything what to do, the followers, anything followers doing, not give effect for the leaders like that.
Okay. Good. So what you're saying is, if you are a leader, I work under you. If I don't perform, the reason why you were affected because take note of this. The performance of my people, the performance of my followers, they are all also my performance. Do you get me? The result, the performance or the how shall I call this? For example, if I am a supervisor and I tell you what to do this, do that, and at the end of the day you were not able to do it, meaning to say as if that I did nothing as well. Okay? So your output, your production as good as mine. If you are doing good as my follower, I am also doing good as a leader. Do you get me? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So if I am not doing good, meaning to say I was not able to lead my people well. Take note of this. Remember, I am a leader and I have a follower. My performance as a leader will always affect my performance if my people are not doing well. Clear?
Yes,
All right?
sir.
Okay. So, therefore, it is very important that you should know your people. You should know them well. Let's say, if they are not performing, talk to them. Okay? If they're having problems, help them. If they are not motivated, motivate them. Because basically, that is your role. Okay? If they don't understand, let them understand. Okay? Because as what I have said, we are human beings and we have our emotions. All right? We have our own needs. We have in different situations. So, as a leader, it is very important that you should know your followers very well. Okay? So, you must come to know your employees, be know, and do their attributes. So, if you'll become a supervisor later on and you have your own followers, get to know them. Build a good relationship with them. right? Because building a good relationship with your employees, for example, your followers, it also feels good on their part. Okay. So we've talked about the leaders knowing their followers and the followers at the same time. Communication is really very important in leadership. Okay. So you lead through two-way communication. Much of it is nonverbal. So what do we mean by two-way communication? We discussed it a while ago. When you say two-way communication is there is a receiver and there is a sender. The one who is talking and the one who is listening. And in between, they are exchanging their thoughts and ideas, and that's how they communicate. Okay? So they might agree or disagree, but however, it should be clear that the communication is well understood. All right? So when you say nonverbal, can you give me an example what a nonverbal communication is? Anybody? Can
Body
anybody
language.
the body language, particularly what? Body language. Okay. What about your facial expression? What about the movement of your eye? All right. What's the difference between when you're angry and when you're happy, when you're lonely, when you feel empty? You see that? So if you are a leader, try to know the people under you. If you're a leader, try to control your emotions, okay? As much as possible, you have to project or do it or practice that you should always be accommodating. Okay? For instance, all right, so when you set an example that communicates to your people that you would not ask them to perform anything that you would not willing to do. Okay? Set an example. In other words, a leader should set an example. So for example, let's go like this. I am your immediate superior. I am a manager, and I will tell you, all right, um, you are required to go to work at least you are required to report for work on time, and your office work, for example, is 8 o'clock. And me as your leader, I arrive in the office at 10 o'clock. How would you feel? Okay. So in other words, the the example set by your immediate superior send a bad example, and that is a communication already. Okay, because in most cases, you will be working later on within you and your immediate superior. Sometimes talking, it's very rare or very seldom, because normally you don't talk to each other as well if you're talking to your supervisor. But somehow you can see the movement, the body language, the nonverbal communication. You can see that your boss or your leader, for example, is getting mad or happy, whatever that be. So there are observations between you as a leader, and there is also an observation coming from the follower. So what and how you communicate either builds or harms your relations between you and your followers. Okay, so you should know what and how you communicate. All right, so by knowing each other between the leader and the superior, you can more or less adjust to your own emotions, because you're getting to know each other already, because there is what we call a relationship between a follower and a leader. Of course, all situations are different. So based on my example a while ago, there is a time that you have to disagree. There is a time that you're going to share with your happy moments. There are times that you agree on a certain direction. Okay, so what do we know? What am I trying to say here? A relationship between the follower and a leader. It also depends on the situation based on their how they will communicate with each other. So what you do in the situation will not always work in another. So in every situation, it is always a different scenario. Okay? So you must use your judgment. If I am a leader, Sometimes I won't talk, but I can come up with a decision or a judgment by way of looking at my people. How? In terms of their actions. For example, you may need to confront an employee or inappropriate behavior, but if confrontations too late, too early, too harsh, too weak, with the results may prove ineffective. All right. So in short, if you are going to call the attention of your subordinates, it also depends on the situation. Like if a certain person commits a mistake, when are you going to call the attention? Is it right after? Is it 1 week after? 2 days after? Or it depends. Because in the long run, it may result and may prove ineffective. Okay? Again, in every situation or factors, there is a leader, followers, communication in every situation. All right. So, one that leads or guides, we discussed this already. One who is in charge or command of others. One who heads a political party or organization. But in the reason why I gave you the organization, because we are concentrating more of the business organization rather than a political party. But somehow, as what I have said, you can see different leaders in different organizations, especially in political party. So one has an influence or power, especially a political nature. So when I say influence or power, does not necessarily mean that you are just in a politics, but even in the organization, a leader should have a power and has and has the a capability of influencing others, and that is what we call leadership. Okay, so a person who influences a group of people towards the achievement of goals. So remember, a while ago, I said the perspective in this discussion is as if we are working in the organization. And what is the goal of the organization is to produce profit, since we are dealing with a profit organization. But somehow in the non-profit organization, what we normally do there is we give free service. All right. But in this case here, a person who influences a group of people towards the achievement of goals. So try to look at this one. You see? So what's the difference? This one here, this is an arrow. Okay. And these are the subordinates. As you can see, what's the difference between these people and him? Maybe you would say it's very obvious because of the color. The one has a different color here is red. In front, meaning he is the person who sets the direction. Arrow, meaning to say, where are we going? Where do we go from here? Okay, all of this white here, these are following him. Okay, but because of his skills and talents and knowledge, people tend to believe in him. And that's why he was able to influence these people here. For what? Because they're going to achieve a certain goal. What direction? We still don't know what type of direction they are wanting to go, but I'm sure this is quite positive. Okay? All right. So, a mnemonic of leadership, there is also what we call a 3Ps, which is people, person, and purpose. Basically, in organization, there should be a purpose or a goal. There is a person, two people, influences committed to achieve. All right. So, I think this is really very common as what we have discussed a while ago. Okay, so a person is a leadership or a position of office of authority. So remember the organizational chart that I showed a while ago. There is a CEO, supervisor, assistant manager. So basically, a leader is a person, okay, who has the ability in the sense that he is a leader because he leads. Okay, don't get confused about a leadership, a leader, and he leads. Leads meaning to say this is a person who do leadership because he may be able to convince people to go somewhere. Okay. So, a leader by its meaning is one who goes first and leads by example so that others motivated to follow him. To be a leader, a person must have a deep-rooted commitment to the goal. All right. So in other words, a leader should believe in himself. A leader should have a true vision. Okay, because there is a word there, commitment. You see, commitment, it's very, for me, commitment, it's very serious word because once you commit of something, no turning back. And that is a true leader. Okay. All right. So again, there is a purpose. It depends upon the purpose, but it says here, it is a requirement for leadership is personalized vision. From the very start, we know what a vision is all about. A leader has the ability to visualize your goal as accomplished fact, a thing already achieved. The very essence of leadership is that you have to have vision, you can blow and uncertain. So when you try to look at this quote, we're talking about a purpose, a goal, because if you are a leader and you have number of followers, what for? So the reason why you form a group because there is a certain purpose. Because it's very important that you have to know what the purpose is all about. Because a group of people working together with common interests, putting all the resources, basically, there is a particular purpose, a certain direction. Okay, just like for example in the corporate world, an organization who produces products and offers services, and the main objective is to earn profit. And that is the reason why they produce quality products. They offer quality service because they mean business. They have to satisfy the customers. After satisfying the customers, they want to have more customers and repeat business more and more. Okay? Because in the long run, whenever they achieve this higher profitability, people under the organization will also benefit of what are those things that they might accomplish. How? It could either be in a form of salary increase, position, whatever would that be. It improves the life of other people. Okay. So why are some individuals more effective than others at influencing others? First, you might be saying, oh my goodness, I am not like him or like her. Why is it that he is very effective in terms of convincing people? Because according to this, effectiveness in leadership has been attributed to persuasion skills, leadership styles, and personal attributes of a leader. Okay, remember I made mention about leadership style a while ago. There is a democratic and there's autocratic leader. Persuasion skills, question of how you make others believe of what you are saying. Okay, and of course your personal attributes, you as a person, being as a leader as well. All right, so you might be saying, oh my goodness, he was able to recruit and convince people to buy the products and services, and that's sometimes people, other leaders, are using their talents and skills in a bad light. Okay, sometimes they do illegal things and make follow of these negative things that's being offered around the world, but that should not be the case. What we're trying to understand here about leadership in our discussion is our goal, our objective, it's legitimate. It's always for the good of everyone. Okay, because there are types of leaders in which case they are doing things in order to destroy others. That is that's good. Okay, that's outside of our discussion here, because I will never teach you to become a leader and become a bad person so as to take advantage of other people, so as to take advantage of the weak areas of other people. That's not what we are talking about here. This that the leadership that we're talking about here is somebody who can improve lives. Okay, who can share something to the community. All right, so people, I think we discussed this already. Now, leaders carry out this process by applying their leadership knowledge skills, and it's called process leadership. I think we've been talking about this already. A leader should have a knowledge and the skills, and putting them together, this is a process, because when you try to look at the process, it passes through different steps, different procedures. Okay, so leadership, it involves a lot of complexities as well. Okay, it is always a challenge. So, characteristics of a leadership: a true leader is one who is humble enough to admit their mistakes. All right. So that's what I'm saying. Doesn't mean that you are successful, that you're a perfect. A leader is not a person who knows everything. A leader is continually learning things for his or her own advancement. Okay. So a leader in such a way is empathy, consistency. This is not consistency, but consistency. A person who is honest, direction, communication, needs support from all and assume obligation. Take note of this. Assume obligation. So a person who takes responsibility. If you are afraid of responsibility, in that case, you are not being called as a leader. Take note of this. If you are a person who don't know how to communicate with your followers, then you are not a leader. If you are a person who might not be able to set the direction, the right path for your followers, then you are not a leader. If you are a person who is very dishonest, then you are not a leader. If you are a person who is not trying to feel what others feel, what if a person who doesn't know the feelings of other people, then you are not a leader. All right? Okay. I'm sorry, but I think I am given only until 9:30, right? Correct?
Uh,
Yes?
yes. For this class, maybe 2 hour until until 10.
Mm,
Maybe now we
it's
can
it's
discussion or Q&A session.
9:30. But normally we're supposed to start at 7:30, right, Mr. Hanafi? Our
Yes.
original time it's 7:30, right?
Yes. Original time
Okay. So 7:30, 8:30,
7:30.
9:30. So we're supposed to finish at 9:30 as a matter of fact, because if we will try to start at 7:30, we're supposed to end at 9:30, right?
Yes,
Right?
sir. It's
Okay.
okay.
All right. So it's okay because anyway we start late. Okay, but I think I was just informed that our schedule is 7:30 to 9:30, but nevertheless, let me finish this one because if the students doesn't have class after this one, it is okay. We can still proceed. All right. Okay. Now, because I'm about to because I'm trying to budget my time as well. All right. So difference between manager and a leader. That's very important. So you might get confused because I keep on using manager and a leader. All right, maybe for some, you have heard a manager and a leader. So basically, we try to look at this one. Okay, so a manager oversees the current process well. Okay, so in other words, a manager, he's there. In other words, he is only going to assume of what is being set up in the past and try to oversees it. Okay? Remember, manager oversees the current process well. But a leader wants to create the future. Okay? Literally, but this one here is being used figuratively. Of course, the leader cannot create the future or cannot create a world, but what do we mean by this? Figure of speech, meaning to say, wants to create a future, a leader can create opportunities. Okay? It is always a question, how will a leader create opportunities? Okay? Because the leader doesn't stop. The manager, he's just right there about the process, about what is being there. It's just a status quo. Okay? A manager must achieve balance while the leader needs to make change. Okay? You might be asking, a leader is always maintaining of what he or what she is right in his hands or in her hands. But a leader needs to make a change always. So if you are going to look at make a changes, a leader is very adaptable to changes. Because as you can see, in this world, everything keeps on changing. Okay? So why it keeps on changing? Because the environment keeps on changing. Technology, political system, sociocultural, economic, so on and so forth. And that sometimes you cannot just stick to things of what you have. You have to adapt to change. All right? So just like, for example, long time ago, this online class, we are not doing this because we don't have this. But as the time goes by, when the technology is improving, it keeps on changing as well, we have to adapt. All right? So a manager thinks execution. He always execute, but the leader should always create a new model, okay? A new approach. A manager is comfortable with control, right? He is always controlling because the system is there, but the leader welcomes risk, and you know what risk is all about. So, I remember a young lady says that my vision or my goal later on is I will to become an entrepreneur. But really, an entrepreneur is also a risk taker, I'm telling you. Okay, so problems are just and that need resolution as soon as possible, while the leader sees problem as opportunities is patient. Oh, try to look at this one. A manager just solving the problem. Okay, sometimes problems are keep on recurring. Okay, while problems as opportunities is patient. Uh, Remember, in times of crisis, there is always opportunity, and that is what a leader is all about. Procedures is king, substance is king, and obstructs a technique, so on and so forth. All right. So the best in okay, high emotional intelligence. So a leader has a high emotional. Do you know what an EQ is? Do you know how EQ? What is EQ, students? Do you know what EQ? Emotional intelligence. Students, don't sleep.
Yes, sir.
All right. So emotional intelligence, uh, meaning you can fit into the different situations, meaning to say you tend to understand the feelings of other people. Okay. You have to empathize. Because remember what we were discussing a while ago, if you're a leader, you should know your people very well. If you don't understand them, if your emotional intelligence is very low, then you cannot connect to your people. And this is really very important because if you encounter if your followers, for example, encounter where if your followers are in a certain situation and you don't understand why, and you will have a problem. You might not be able to understand the person, and that's the reason why somehow there's always conflict and disagreement between you as a leader and your follower as well. Okay, so high emotional intelligence. All right, so next. So if you're a leader, you should always be an optimist. Okay, optimist. Okay, Colin Powell, he's a former Secretary of State in the United States. He says, optimism is a force multiplier. All right, so when you are optimism, it's also the same as you are a positive thinker person. Okay, a leader should always think positive. Sometimes, he a leader since he is looking at problems as opportunities, this is a way of describing him as a person who is an optimist, always a positive thinker, always sees crisis as a as a challenge, and there is opportunity there lies within the crisis. All right. Okay. So encourage potential. Leaders should always encourage people that you can do it. Okay. A leader should always boost the morale of the person and try to understand and push them to uh, their own limits and their own capabilities. Okay. Don't forget that a leader initiates action. Remember this one. Uh, a leader should always be in front. Okay. Initiates meaning he shows an example first before he tells people to do this and to do that. A leader should motivate himself and motivate others. A leader should provide guidance and advices to his people. A leader creates confidence. Okay? If a person, if a follower feels bad, what the leader would do, he will always say comforting words. No, you can always do it. You can do that, blah, blah, so on and so forth. And a good leader should not work on his own, but instead, he should coordinate his followers. Of course, a leader should also plan, and he should inspire and motivate others. Because remember, difference between boss and a boss says go and a leader says let's go. That's what's the difference there. And a boss would say go, and a leader let's go, meaning I am always with you. When you fail, I fail, we all fail. Okay? When you succeed, we all succeed. Okay? Well, the bosses would like this. You fail, and then you just have to fail without me. But a leader should says, when you fail, I fail. And that's the reason why I made mention a while ago. The performance of your people will also the performance of a leader. Okay. Role of a leader is a leader's role life is always to ensure his or her team achievements tasks. Okay. The role of the leader is to always make sure that his people, that his followers are in good hands. What do I mean by in good hands? He's going to make everything is okay as much as possible. Okay? A leader should always be keen on the small, even small things. He give advices. Okay? Since he is a model, he give motivating words to his or her followers. Okay? And guides them along the way. All right. So another thing here is a leader should have a strong focus. Of course, you have an integrity. Uh, he has to engage with others, especially with the followers. And a leader also should be able to analyze in a bigger picture. A leader should also know how to maximize the resources and try to manage them, and maybe perhaps to look for what is lacking and to provide for his people for this for the entire team to work well. Okay, and a good leader, he has a good connections. He has a good network outside, friends outside who can help them. Okay, and again, a leader should have a good communication skills, whether his people or outside of the organization. Okay, especially in business. Okay, so I think I'll give you time since 9:43. I'll give you time to ask questions. I think that ends my presentation for the day. All right, so it's your turn now to ask questions. You have any questions?
Any questions, student? Student,
Please, sir.
please.
Nothing?
Okay. Question from Eriska. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, please.
Good morning, sir. My name is Eriska. I would like
Eriska.
to ask you a question. So, but sorry, I cannot speak in English very well.
It's
My question
okay.
is, what should we do when we make decision in difficult situation when we become a leaders? Thank you.
Mm, okay. So, all right. Try to look at this one. Let's say uh, your question is what a leader should do in terms of the difficult situation. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So, basically, the role of the leader is to make sure that everything is okay. But there are things that really happens which is beyond the control of a leader. Okay? Do you get me? So, a situation happens every day. A situation happens unexpectedly. I'll give you a very big picture today. Okay? For example, In your country or in any other countries as well, what are we experiencing now? What are we experiencing now? What are we having right now? Our situation is different. We are living in a new normal, right?
Yes, right.
Yes, okay. No, if you're going to ask me, being as a leader in a certain country, basically, these things that happens during the pandemic, I cannot do anything about it because it's there. It happens unexpectedly. But however, I should not stop from there. I have to look for a possible solutions. All right. So what are the solutions now? I am trying to link. I am going to communicate with other countries, for example, of acquiring the vaccines, no matter what it takes. So if you are in the difficult situation, meaning you have to think of a possible solutions and adapt to reality. Okay? Do you get my point? Because these things are beyond our control. Just like, for example, in any situations in the organization specifically, one of the difficult situations there is a customer is trying to complain, or a situation like we run out of suppliers, raw materials. Okay, so your reaction to an every situation, you have to identify. It could either be, is it something that is controllable or uncontrollable? If it is controllable, for example, if I am a difficult situation and the problem happens internally in the organization, it is easy for me to decide because everything happens, it's there. And I know that these problems are recurring. But if problem is happening outside, such as the pandemic, it leads the closure of it leads to the closure of the businesses. And that is the reason why we're doing here, and that's how we adapt in a difficult situation. Okay, another example. Um, I am here talking to you. As a matter of fact, I was so excited to go back there because I was there in 2019. I was there, and I really enjoyed when I was in the university. I learned a lot, mingling with the students as well as your lecturers there. Okay, but because of the pandemic, it puts us in a bad situation. So what your school is doing, still it doesn't stop from me from engaging with you. So we have to look ways. All right. So they are looking for they are always looking for a solution by doing an alternative way, which is online. Okay. So as a leader, don't stop. Look at for a solutions. Look for ways because a leader should always look ways, right? And there's always an opportunity. Okay. All right. So I hope I was able to give you a question that it lightens your mind.
It's
Have
good.
I answered? Have I answered your question?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
All all right. Thank you very much. Okay. What about others? I'd like to hear from you.
Any more
Don't be
questions,
afraid.
student? Any more question?
Meaning it's clear.
Sir, I want to ask question.
All right. Very good.
Okay. Thanks in advance. My name is Vina. My question is, what should employees do if their leaders always act arrogant and never reads well? For example, is the leader always prioritizes his own opinion than others' opinion, which is better than him opinion. So, what should the employees report it, and to whom the employee report it? So, thank you.
Mm, all right. So your question is how you will be able to handle a situation if you're a follower and working with your supervisor in the organization in such a way that the supervisor sometimes doesn't understand your point. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
All right. So if you are a follower, this is very critical, especially if you are a beginner working in a certain organization. Because if you are still a follower, just make sure that your objective there is to learn things. Okay? You have to understand that you are still a beginner. Okay? Number two is in the organization, there is always a protocol to follow. Okay? When I say protocol, these are the rules and regulations. These are the relationship between me as your immediate superior, as your leader, and sometimes your role as a follower. Okay? The least that you can do as a follower, for example, is if you were given a chance to air and give your suggestions, then do it. Okay? But do not expect that your opinions will always be accepted or honored by your immediate superior. Okay? Do you get me? Because remember, your immediate superior can make or break your career. So what I'm trying to say here is, you just have to go with the flow and build a good relationship with your immediate superior, especially if you are a beginner. Okay? Now, another thing is it depends upon the style of a leader because as what I am saying, there are different types of leadership style. It could either be a democratic person or an autocratic. When I am a person who keeps on dictating and I don't listen to your voice as my immediate as my followers, and that is his style. Okay? If my style as your immediate superior is to always ask your opinion, and that is my democratic style. But I'm telling you, there is no right or wrong in terms of leadership style. However, you can never question also the leadership style of your immediate superior because later on, you will also become a leader and you will also have your own style. But if you're going to ask me as a beginner, if you're only given a chance to perhaps give your suggestions, then give the suggestions, but do not expect that your suggestions will be accepted by your immediate superior. Okay, so the challenge of a beginner or worker in the working environment is to learn more. Okay, learn more and experience more because I'm telling you, time comes when you will become a leader, you will also do the same. All right. So unless otherwise, for example, if you're on the same level, manager to manager, then you're on the same level. You can always disagree or agree on the same things, but on a professional level. Okay. Let's say you are a manager, I am a manager also. Though we can maybe perhaps agree or disagree things. After all, whatever happens, we have to bring this matter to the higher authority. Okay, but if we're talking about the relationship between you as a beginner, for example, you as a fresh graduate and you're dealing with your immediate superior, the best advice that I can tell is learn more things and build a good relationship with your immediate superior as much as possible. Don't fight your immediate superior because as a beginner in the career, they can always back you up, they can always help you, and they can always give you a positive remarks when you will be evaluated. All right? I hope I got your point. Hello?
Yes, sir, I get that point. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you also for asking. All right. Okay. What else? I think I really like if students will really ask, and I also appreciate if students will also disagree with me. I am willing to listen because, after all, as what I have said, no one has the monopoly of knowledge. Anybody can, disagree of what I am saying. After all, I'm not also perfect. After all, okay. All right. So, what else? But I always
Any
encourage
more
you guys
questions,
to talk.
student? Can ask to Dr. Ramil.
Okay, Mr. Hanafi.
Yes,
What
sure.
else? Yeah. So,
I will ask you, sir.
okay.
It is about motivation for a
Motivation.
leader. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Uh, my question is, are there any effective tips for a leader to motivate himself when he's shaky or about to give up like that in condition like that, sir? Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, you're saying is how a leader motivate himself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, are you a leader? Prospective leader?
For
Yes.
myself and my
Yes.
younger brother, I have a two little brother, sir.
Okay. Now, let us try to go back with our discussion for today. Remember, a leader is not born. Take note of this. No one is born and becomes a leader right there and then. A leader takes a lot of process. A leader comes from within himself or herself. He should learn so many things. My point here is this. If you are a leader, you should know how to motivate yourself. Do not expect that others will motivate you. It's just a matter of mindset. You get my point? Yes, because if you are a leader, remember this one. Do not expect that others will persuade your opinions or thoughts. You might listen, however, you have to come up with your own beliefs based on what is the dictate of your conscience. That's a very good question. How will you be able to motivate yourself if others doesn't motivate you at all? Okay? I think it's not only for a leader, but it's for all of us. For example, you are a student. You are demotivated. Hey, come on. You are a student. Are you expecting most of the time that others will motivate you? Now tell me. It should be coming from yourself. Okay? If you feel bad, meaning to say, yes, try to acknowledge that you feel bad. It is okay. We are all human beings. We feel hurt. All right? We feel happy. That's normal. But open your eyes. Okay? Have a clear direction because do not wait that others motivate you. Motivate yourself. Try to shift the way you think. It's just a matter of mindset. And that is the skill that the leader should learn. You get my point? Okay? So this time, do not wait others to motivate you. If no one motivates you, remember, just like for example, happiness does not come from others. Happiness should be coming from yourself. Do you get me?
Yes, sir. Of course. Thank you, sir.
Anissa. All right, again, please do not wait others to motivate you, except accept the fact because you have your own goals. You know where very well what your visions are. Okay? You are goal oriented. And that goal there is who will materialize those goals. It is you. And do not wait others to motivate you. Instead, motivate yourself. Do not wait others. Just like if you are not happy, do not wait others to make you happy. Make yourself happy. After all, life is always a choice. If you if you decide to make sad or you feel happy, then that is your problem. You see? Right? So, do not let others control over you. If you are not motivated, then what will you do? Because of your goal, ask yourself. But I am not saying that leaders doesn't feel this loneliness or emptiness because you are not a robot, you are not a machine. All right? You are human beings. Thank you, Anissa, for asking that questions. Very interesting. Thank you. Oh,
Yes,
who
sir.
else? Adila. How I'm going to pronounce your name? Adilia. Adilia. Who else? Oh, Ahmad. Mm, all right. Okay. So, what else? I'm really happy with our first meeting. Huh? I'm looking forward for more questions. But I am just sad and very disappointed because I am not there with you. I'm looking forward to be there with you, but that's reality. You see that we have to accept. That's the way it is. It's beyond our control. Okay. All right. So, what else?
Any more question, student? Dr. Ramil will be happy to answer your question. Maybe enough, Dr. Ramil, for today. Nothing question else for
Okay.
student. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ramil.
Right.
Thank you for providing knowledge about
Thank
leadership
you.
concept of leadership, and how to be a leader. That are very useful for me and for student. Maybe next week we are meet in Zoom meeting. See you next week. We are looking
Yes.
forward to studying with you next
All
week.
right.
Yeah, about leadership.
Okay. So see you next week, next Thursday at 7:30.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much and have a nice day. See you next week. Thank you.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day,
Yes,
too.
sir.
You,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You,
Right.
sir.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oke. Ya, terima kasih teman-teman.